Welcome to the AirCon Vault. Here, you can find the recordings of the live streams from AirWiggle's audio conference. These are made free thanks to our sponsors, as Sound Effects, Aftertouch Audio, Boom Library, Fmod, Game Audio Learning, Game SoundCon, Kilo Hearts, Rev Rooms, Soundcuts, Strata from Audio Kinetic, and AirWiggle, the online home for audio people. We hope you enjoy the video.
Welcome, and this is my first AirWiggles talk, so I'm pretty excited. And I'm going to be talking about from a musical idea to an orchestra. I'm going to go a little bit as well. 4 a.m. in Indonesia. Holy wow! Well, thank you for joining. Anyways, sorry, getting distracted by the chat already. Yeah, the reason why I wanted to make this talk, by the way, the inspiration for this talk was because this year I got to hear my music played live by an orchestra for the first time, and it was such a powerful experience that I wanted to share it and inspire other video game composers. Hopefully we have lots of composers in the chat so I can inspire you with my personal journey. And also a lot of game concerts are usually AAA games like Final Fantasy, Pokemon, Zelda, Assassin's Creed, but not a lot of AAA game composers. Sorry, like I'm not a AAA game composer, right? So like it was really special that to have more indie game music concerts happening. And yeah, so this is why I'm talking about this today. So oh, for anybody who doesn't know me, I am Virginia Leo. I'm an Italian musician. I'm from Italy, but I grew up in Wales, and now I live in Texas. So all over the place. I've been freelancing remotely in game audio for over 5 years. I'm primarily a composer, but I'm also a sound designer and audio implementer. And I'm currently working on a game called The Baby in Yellow. I don't know if we have anyone that knows it. If you do know it, let me know. We are a Lovecraftian comedy horror babysitting game. That's a mouthful. Made in Unreal Engine with over 300 million downloads worldwide, which is just insane. So yeah. And now I'm gonna pass it over to Tony.
Thank you, Virginia. My name is Tony Manfredonia. I don't have anything that has 300 million downloads, but I am a Michigan-based composer and singer-songwriter. I basically just live and breathe orchestra, right? Like whether it's for a video game soundtrack or whether I'm singing with it and it's like kind of symphonic rock or pop, symphonic pop. Just last Sunday, I played with a bunch of brass and woodwinds, doing some folk tunes on stage with a bunch of wind ensemble people. It was amazing. So I live in the world of orchestration and composing for games, and that I like just seeing those worlds collide for me. That's what I love to do. I like to orchestrate for artists. I orchestrated for Virginia to bring her music to life for this concert, for this experience, and I was very honored and very blessed for the opportunity because it was just an amazing experience. My more recent credit, I would say, from a video game standpoint, was the Minecraft Universal Studios experience kind of DLC. I largely work in the indie world. There's a few other games I'm working on now that literally I'm living in NDA land. Like I can't talk about a darn thing that I'm working on this very moment. So there'll be more soon enough, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm cooking up stuff and I'm happy to be here. So thank you, Virginia, for having me.
Oh, absolutely. This would have never happened without you, so it was really important to have both of us talk about it because we're gonna get actually right into it, guys, because I was actually gonna think of talking about the ideas and going chronological order, but Tony was like, we should hit it hard with the orchestra, and I totally agree. I think let's go backwards. So we're gonna do the most exciting part of the presentation right now.
Yeah, and one thing to note. So AirWiggles does
Yes.
seem to make everything in mono. So just be ready for the mono recording. I promise it's stereo
Yes.
behind the scenes. But
It is, yes, you'll hear it very soon, but yeah, unfortunately, there's mono, but it will be, it's not on YouTube right now. This is actually unlisted and it's specially just for you. So, congratulations, but it will be uploaded to YouTube so you can watch it in stereo at a later date.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I will pause it at a certain point. Sorry. So, here we go.
There it is.
Oh, there it was.
I'm seeing this footage, by the way.
Awesome.
I'm so bad I wasn't there in person, but like this is the first time
Oh,
I'm like, oh wow, they look great. They sound great. That's awesome. It's
it looks the videos like all oh, thank you everyone. Yeah, the videos came out really well and the audio, like I'm really pleased with it. And yeah, it's such a shame you went there, but I promise you we'll do this more and you'll be there next time
yeah,
for
of
sure.
course.
So just to give you a really quick idea of like what we just saw, it's actually comes from this. So this was a concert called Power Up, the Art of Video Game Music, and we did this concert at KMFA, which is Austin's classical radio station, and it was their first time holding a video game music event. So it was a pretty big deal for a classical radio station to do video game music for the first time. And the reason why they chose to do this was because they noticed that video game music has emerged as a gateway to symphonic music and drawing diverse and younger audiences to orchestral performances. So, as most symphonies integrate gaming scores into their programming, gaming music continues to establish itself as like a vital and respected art form. So, how cool is that that we are becoming more respected even in the classical scene now as game composers? And the orchestra as well. Wanted to just quickly say that they are called Density 512. They are Austin's chamber orchestra and new music collective. They usually perform things like narrative concerts, opera, ballet, live to film, sound installations congratulations. But this was also their first video game music concert performance. So that's a two in one, you know, first time. And the reason why I found like I was able to do this was I found an opportunity through networking with the local Austin Game Audio meetup, and I met the violinist at the orchestra called Nick Montopoli. So again, networking is always extremely important. And of course, I wouldn't have been able to do this without Tony and his orchestrations. And we've known each other for a few years, and he was just the perfect person for this job. And not only he's a orchestrator, but he's also a video game composer himself. So it was just a no-brainer.
Thank you.
So, Tony, I will hand it
Yeah.
over to you if you want to
Yeah.
discuss some of your processes on. I guess, do I have to stop screen sharing, or can you just over do it
I
over
think
me?
you'll have to stop your screen share and then I can jump in.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
So yeah, no problem. So here we go. I've got the score. So what we just listened to, and I wanted to just kind of briefly talk about the process of doing this. Now there were four other tunes that I orchestrated as part of this concert. But I think this one is very representative of sort of what everything else kind of came thereafter, harmonically, musically, everything. And what I loved about this one is that the piano was really showcased. So when Virginia approached me, she was like, "Hey, we're doing this thing, and I need you to orchestrate my music." When they sent me the list of instrumentation, this is not what they would consider, for those who may not know, this is not what they would consider a symphony orchestra, but rather a chamber orchestra. So the instrumentation was literally like a singular violin one player, a singular violin two player, and so forth. Pretty much one player to a part. We had two flutes in terms of flutes, but everyone else was one to a part. And this actually, it posed a challenge because I was like, okay, if we go all in and say, let's use everybody for every single tune, I could aim for the bigger sound, but it would never sound the same as if you had like 18 violin ones, 16 violin twos, right? So my approach was a little bit of a challenge, but it's doable, right? And that's why I loved using the piano almost as like a piano concerto in a way, right? Where it's like a featured piano soloist and the orchestra, the chamber orchestra behind it and surrounding it was sort of as a way to enhance the experience rather than strictly the focal point. Now, there are other tunes later on where the whole orchestra really is the focal point, where, like a battle tune and stuff. But this theme, right? So just the melody alone was like so orchestratable, if that's even a word. It's like when you can just sing something like this, it's like, oh man, you can hear it in the high flutes, you could hear it in the strings. But when the strings first came in, I was like, let's leave the piano. Let's leave the piano start to finish. And we had this nice little like kind of string like harmony moment. So it was just, I think the experience, and maybe Virginia, if you have any specifics, things you maybe want me to cover, I'm happy to do so. But
Yeah.
overall, this really was like textural. I would say this first track was really textural more than anything. Yeah.
I think yeah, like it was more for you. So originally, I don't know if did we already mention this? It's actually just a piano solo. So the fact that you had
Yes.
to not just think about the piano, but like all of, like you're saying, all the textures and things that go on top of that. And it is very orchestral to begin with, even though it's just piano, you know.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
definitely think my favorite parts is those swells, and I just don't know how you do it. It's like those
Oh.
big swells, and you just feel the room. It's I don't know exactly which bar it is, but I think it's
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to
So
sing it
this is,
because I
I
don't
think
know
this is
where
the
we
one
are, but it's the da 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 da, like that part there is
Oh
so
yeah, like the Phantom
powerful.
of the Opera moment. Oh yeah.
Yes, that part. Yeah, that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you
Right
want to
here.
like
So
describe like why it's
okay.
powerful.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So uh orchestration 101 here. But really, brass instruments, more than anything, more than strings, more than woodwinds, brass instruments really fill a space, insanely so, especially if you're dealing with like we have a single violin player, right? 5 strings total. We had a French horn, a trumpet, and a trombone. They fill up so much space, so much space. And by having that kind of, you can see here, they're pretty much just a harmonic center. It is a harmony right in the center. That's all they're doing while other stuff moves around it. So that for me, it always accomplishes that real thick sound. And so I put the strings above and kind of inside, right? So if you look at the brass as like this, almost like a bodied center, a well-bodied center, you can look at the violas and cellos, and even the second flute here, kind of creating that rhythmic momentum. Yum bum 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 ba 2 3 yum dun 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 dun. While the brass is just kind of sitting there, creating a nice body of sound. And that actually, the brass was actually really hard to score, because typically, for a moment like this, in a symphony orchestra where you have 4 horns, 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, and typically a tuba, generally here it's like, okay, maybe I would save the trumpet for later and I would just use 4 horns and a tuba for the sake of just kind of a nice bodied center, and then save the trumpets and the trombones for like a counter melody or something stronger later on, since trumpets and trombones really they're beefy, right? So I guess what creates those swells is just making sure that the orchestration top to bottom, the gaps are filled, right? You want those vertical gaps filled, nothing more than an octave in the center, right? Nothing more than a fifth and sixth, thirds, that type of stuff in the center. Leave the octaves for the very, very top or the very, very bottom. A nice vertical spacing will give you that thick, full, lush sound. There's my spiel. There's your orchestration lesson of the day.
It's kind of like mixing in a way, it's you have
Yeah.
different frequencies and different instruments for those frequencies, and you're trying to fill, the gap, because if you don't have, you need a variation of all the frequencies to really make it like big, and I guess that's what I'm learning
Yeah.
about.
And also the fact that, like, so again, originally this is just a piano, right? So
Yeah.
you have 2 hands, 10 fingers. I suppose if someone's flexible, they could get their like cartoon style, like get their toe involved on the high end, or their foot, their third limb there playing on the piano. But it's like when you do this and you have the orchestra accessible, you can add so many rhythmic elements, harmonic elements, and you can also just accentuate what the piano's doing, right? So the piano here is on the melody, so are the high violins. But what the piano can't do is do this, your original figure here, bum, da, bum, bum, and also this at the same time. You probably could weave it in there, but it's the same texture as a piano. So by having a different texture in combination with the piano, it's basically this, it's the same harmony. The harmony isn't changing. You're adding a forward
Mm.
propulsion. Yum, bum, 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 ba, da, and yeah, da, 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 da. So it's the benefit of the orchestra is you can kind of expand upon the original idea, and you can get creative with the crayon box. I think Dominic mentioned the stock staccato tremolo
Oh yeah.
into where is
Tremolo.
that? Yeah,
Where
somewhere
is
over
that
here.
again?
Oh yeah, right here. So like this, for example,
Okay.
these rhythms here are matching the piano. But then, because you strings, a piano can't do this on a single note. At least it doesn't sound the same. You technically could, I suppose, but it wouldn't sound like a string tremolo. Dun, dun, and then this tremolo thing gives it aggression.
Mm.
Again, not changing the harmony, not changing anything about the music, but just adding a texture to it. Muted brass swelling up into that moment, just to kind of create that transition effect. So that, to me, in today's topic, in relation to today's topic, a musical idea. Here's your musical idea to an orchestra is a matter of coloring it, right? It's again kind of like having a black and white picture, and then the orchestra is literally like getting a crayon box and like adding in the different colors you want at certain points in the drawing.
Oh, I think we
I
talked about this before, and it's funny because
maybe we have.
piano is literally black and white.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally black and white, and you're just adding in the colors of all those other types of instruments, and it's even the materials they're made out of are different. You know, like everything's different. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a I love it. I truly love it. And I had so much fun. There's my Discord. I had so much fun just thinking about chamber orchestra, because most of the times, anytime I'm doing full orchestra, it's full orchestra. Is
Oh,
generally
yeah,
9
there's
times out of
like more
10.
limitations, right?
Yeah. So the limitations actually really made me think outside of the box with, but even like bassoon writing, right? Normally bassoons, when you are dealing with a full brass section and it's really loud, generally bassoons, you're like, okay, I just got to shove them in there to double up something, generally, because they're not going to be heard otherwise. But in this case, because it's a smaller group, it's like, okay, well, I can have the bassoons have some fun up here and do some fun eighth note stuff. And, I could just I could think about it differently and feature each instrumentalist. I could feature them throughout this whole experience, which is always really fun. Any chance I get, rather than having the trumpet player sit there for 30 minutes of a symphony and note and then sit back down. Like when you're dealing with less musicians, you can feature everybody a little bit more, and use everybody a little bit more without it becoming annoying or too much, It's a good time. It's a good time.
And I think you said there's a lot of accidentals you had to do. Like, was it tricky trying to, not just it's not just about the musical idea to an orchestra, but it's like how do you get the orchestra to be able to read the music?
Yeah.
Like, so it's, was it quite difficult to kind of put a lot of these? I'm seeing them already. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I want to mention Daniel in the chat mentioned, did I see a red
Did
note?
I see
Yes,
a
you
red
did.
note?
So Sibelius is technically bassoonists can play this. It's high. It's a high bassoon, but Sibelius will generally color a note if it's either impossible or moving into its outer reaches, right? So if it's getting a little bit in either direction or it's just outright impossible. This one's possible. This is playable. It's just high. It's just high.
You got to be
But yeah,
good.
articulations is it's pretty seamless. I mean, once you almost like, I highlight these, for example, and just immediately turn those staccato markings off by using my numpad. So this type of stuff is once you get used to it, you can very quickly and very easily add articulations without,
Cool.
I can highlight all these dynamic markings, that type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I guess I still have like a few minutes to talk about this. So my question to you is always
yeah.
like, what's how I guess is like, what's your favorite part of doing this? Because you're so passionate about it, but it's also, how do you put your own musical ideas into orchestra? Not just like this is my musical idea going into your orchestration, but how do you do your own musical idea into orchestration as well?
Yeah. So that is a phenomenal question. And I think when you do it long enough, this was probably a different answer maybe 5 plus 10 years ago, probably a very different answer. But now the original ideas tend to start as orchestral ideas. So that could be like, let's say I come up with a melody. Uh, Immediately my brain goes to, who's going to do this, right? Is it going to be a clarinet? Is it going to be a string section? Is it going to be the French horn? Um, Alternatively, sometimes I'll kind of come up with like in my mind, which you can't necessarily replicate on a piano, but if I'm conceptualizing a piece or a track for a game and it's orchestral, it'll be like, okay, the sort of the textural colors will come to mind. I'll be like, okay, I know I want the strings kind of doing this arpeggiated thing. I kind of want the woodwinds to do that. But it's not until I sit down and physically start putting in the notes that then the concrete culmination of that concept comes out. But it's initially like, I'll be I don't know, driving in the car, walking down the road, and I'll be like, ooh, I want like this kind of shimmery string stuff. But I
Oh,
may not know
interesting.
exactly
Yeah.
what the notes are until I sit down and play with them,
Uh,
you know? Um,
wow. That's so
so
different. Yeah, it's so interesting, like having two composers talk about this, and it's not just me on my own, because it's interesting hearing how differently we all do these things, you know, because
Yes.
I
Yeah.
could, yeah, it's so different to what I would do, you know. So you think of like the textures first. That's pretty crazy to
Yeah.
me.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah, and I think, and specifically if I'm working with an orchestra, which admittedly,
Wow.
because I live in that world so much that if I have to, I recently released a track, my more songwriter stuff. It's very orchestral, it's cinematic, it's orchestral, but like because it was a bit more pop rock-ish, pop, I was, I mean, maybe like alternative, I suppose, all cinematic. I had to think less about like, okay, turn off your like acoustic orchestration brain for a second and just think pure production, like just purely production, like what's going to make this sound good. So it can be really hard to switch that off when I'm like, generally it's just an orchestra and maybe a
Mm,
piano, right? It's really hard to get myself out of that space. So there's pros and cons.
wow.
In short, there's pros and
Yeah,
cons.
absolutely. Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's super interesting. Wait, hold on.
I'm gonna
Where
end my
where are we with time? Yeah, I think we
yeah.
want to
I'll,
kind of split the
yeah.
talk, so we've um I'm gonna go on to kind of
Yeah,
like
I'll stop my share here.
not oh cool. I'll share mine now. Taking
Yeah.
that in turns. What was it? Chrome tab. Got it. So, cool. Thank you so much, by the way, for, you know, talking about this stuff. I hope
Oh, you're
everybody's
welcome.
learning something, because I'm certainly always learning from you. Um, so wow, yeah, that was a lot to take in. I feel like my music
Sorry,
theory. So I
I geek out. I'm sorry. I go on and on.
no, no, it's so cool. Like it makes me so it gives me more motivation to learn, you know, all these things when you
Mhm.
talk about, because although I, you know, I do know music theory and all this stuff, like I did hand over my ideas to someone because I didn't feel like really confident enough to make, like I can orchestrate, but in Ableton I'm not gonna do it in Sibelius, you know.
Right.
So,
And actually I don't sorry, I don't mean to interrupt or to jump in, but
no,
I think
please.
that's worth noting that like if you're orchestrating something for a DAW for a game purely digital, you can, for lack of better words, you can sort of cut corners, right? So in a live setting like this, you
Absolutely.
have 5 string players versus in a DAW, you can have, gosh, if you wanted 100 different string samples like all at once, you totally could, right? So that's,
Yeah.
I would say, for anyone here who's interested in this orchestration stuff, that is the biggest difference, right? So the difference between here's my orchestral mockup where I've used a bunch of different sample libraries and kind of, you know, did my digital version. And then if you want to get that recorded live with a scoring orchestra or performed live or whatever, that's going to be the biggest set of questions you need to consider. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, how can I take my uh rule free
My
version
dreams
and then
and
like
make them into a reality.
yeah, so just it's worth noting,
Yeah.
that's all. So anyway,
Because
I'll
it's
shut up.
no, you're totally right, and it is important to talk about these things, because yeah, like I can do any kind of orchestration I want, but ultimately I don't know how to hand it over to real humans that can play it, you know, because that's not my expertise, but it's your expertise. So it's definitely yeah, I'm sure that there's people that have probably written some crazy stuff, and they're like, all right, how do we get this live? And people probably look at it like,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
I'm sure that's happened before.
Yeah.
Um, Cool. Thank you so much. So, and now we're going to go backwards a bit more, and we're going to talk about really like the rawness of a musical idea before it even touches paper or anything or notation. So again, that was music from The Baby in Yellow, and the reason why I'm going to talk not so much about music, but more about how musical ideas are generated as a video game composer. And to me, it's extremely important that I'm absolutely 100% inside of the game, you know, to be able to generate any idea. And that's another difference actually between me and Tony, is that Tony's a singer-songwriter as well, and I struggle a lot to just make music, and I don't get ideas all that much unless there's a game in front of me, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's okay, you know, that's my inspiration. Um,
That's
Unless it's
interesting.
piano, I can always sit and noodle on the piano, anything, but if it's just actual composition, yeah, I definitely need the game, really. So again, yeah, The Baby in Yellow was my inspiration for the musical idea, and I've already kind of talked about what it is, but essentially, it's a lot about madness and strange, unexplainable events. So I tried to channel that, I guess, into the music. And the reason why it's called The King's Lullaby is because of the king, who is actually a character from a book by Robert W. Chambers. He's considered kind of the precursor to H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos. And he wrote a book called The King in Yellow, which was published in 1895. And it's considered a major influence on Lovecraft's work. And Lovecraft really admired The King in Yellow. So it's a lot about literature and very old literature now. Also, funny enough, the King in Yellow is kind of like an entity of great power and cosmic horror, and he's Cthulhu's half brother apparently. And he's one of the great old ones, which is a term Lovecraft used to describe like ancient, powerful, and malevolent cosmic entities. So this is the musical idea. Was I got all these images, by the way, were sent to me by the developers. So this was like, hey, we have this baby, but he's not really a baby. This is actually what he looks like deep down, you know, in his true form. So these visuals really help me with generating musical ideas, is visuals and colors and shapes and stuff like this, and story and lore. So the beginnings of this musical idea came a lot from the story of what was going on. And what this came sorry, I just trying to go back a bit. So I actually made this piece of music in 2021, when the White Rabbit update came out, which was like the first time that we really made a new environment in the game and a new character. And the character's called Pikmin, named after Pikmin's model, which is a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. And yes, basically, I'm not going to read off the board, but you know, it's about somebody that's gone missing. They're a musician and they've been affected by the king. They've basically gone insane because they live in the same apartment complex as the baby, also known as the king. And they've written a masterpiece, which is like an homage to the king in this creepy shrine they built in their apartment, which is the King in Yellow. The King's Lullaby, which is the piece that you heard today. And it's kind of like a puzzle. You find the vinyl in the shrine, you take it back, you play it, and the baby gets lulled by it, and you're able to take the key and move on to the next chapter. So it's kind of a puzzle, but it was pretty important to get across what was happening because Pikmin doesn't exist in the game. They've gone missing. So we had to kind of think of how to give context clues, you know, and tell environmental storytelling, all that stuff. Um, and oh yeah, just to quickly show you as well, is that when I made the piece of music, this is what the game originally looked like in 2021. That's the shrine, that's the baby, there's the piano music, which is called like Pikmin's something else, and the notes are all wrong, you know, they're not accurate. And in 2025, this is what the game looks like now, and this is where the King's Lullaby, the piece of music, is, and that's the shrine. And also I'm showing you this not just as a graphical comparison, but as there's a comparison of how long it took to even reach to the point where I could hear my music played like by an orchestra, because the piece has been around for like years and years, but we only just heard it live now. So that's how much it means to me, seeing the game change so much and finally getting to hear my music organically played, not just, VSTs. This was a quick audio brief that I received. These were the requirements for the King's Lullaby. And this really helped generate the musical idea, because the piano puzzle was just supposed to be literally like 10 notes, and you're supposed to play, you find these sorry, my scatterbrain right now, but basically the sheet of music, this one right here, it's cut into 3 parts and they're all hidden around the apartment, and you have to find the 3 pieces of sheet music and put them together. And then when you do that, you go to the piano and you play the piano melody, essentially, which unlocks the door, which is to the shrine. This is such a mouthful. I hope that makes sense. So the musical idea was supposed to be a really, really, really basic, just few notes. And I played that on this like tiny M audio because I was traveling at the time. I was in like Canada or something, and I brought this like tiny 32 key MIDI keyboard with me, and I made the first few notes on that. And then when I went back home, I actually fleshed out the piece on my Roland FP30 with 88 keys, so I was able to use full scale, all the range.
I got the same exact
And
keyboard right here. I didn't
it's
realize
so
you also
good.
had the FP30. That's funny. I'm literally right here.
Yeah, the
That's good.
FP30, man. It's if you play the if you're so I'm as you probably can tell by now, I am a pianist, and I love weighted keys, and it was really hard to find something FP30 gang. It's really hard to find a good digital, piano that feels real, and this is the best one, I think. I'm not sponsored, but I should be. Uh, so this is essentially the motif, and this is broken into the 3 parts, but this is all it was at the beginning, was these notes, which may play.
It's playing. I hear it.
That's it. That's the first thing I did. I got to the keyboard and I just went ba 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 ba, and that ba ba is really like that cadence is so unresolved, I feel. And the final chromatic note really leaves you hanging, and I have no idea where that came from, but it came to me just as I was thinking of the king and the baby, and like trying to think of all of the story elements, and it just sounded, I don't really know how to describe it, but there's a lot of dynamic. It's quite like it's moving a lot, but then it also leaves you unresolved, and I don't know, it's funny because as a composer, we say there's 2 different types of people, right? There's the people that love to talk about music, and as a composer, and the composers that just don't talk about music, and that's me. Because I really do things from within. I don't know how to externalize myself. I'm also like, when I do music, I'm very, very isolated. I close the door, I'm by myself. Like that's where I really feel the most comfortable sometimes, as composers. I guess, I don't know, if I'm not really an introvert either. It's weird. I'm an introvert when it comes to music, though. So, and then yes, this was the full piece. Then after I made that segment, this is what it became. So I'm not going to play all the different versions for you, but the first version. Then I made a few more versions until I reached to a point where I thought it was completed. And this is, oh yeah, this one's funny. This is some voices I had to do later on. A little embarrassing, but they basically changed the Pikmin was supposed to be a guy, and then I started putting like crazy laughter in it and stuff, so Pikmin became Alice Pinkman. But they told me to do that as well because basically, what was it? The hold on, I'm getting sidetracked. Wait, did I? Yeah, yeah. What was it? Oh yeah, method acting. So I feel this is something that I really like to talk about when it comes to composition, is that I treat composition for video games like method acting, and I kind of become like the character when I'm trying to write the music for it. So what I tried to do was I actually turned all the lights off in my room, and I think I lit some candles. And I just kept thinking of that first melody line, the motif, um, and I just pretended I was like actually Pikmin, and that is how I generate ideas, which maybe sounds crazy, but it works. You have to really become the character in the space, and I play the game over and over again. I walk around the room. I try to really feel like I'm inside it, and become that character. So yeah, to make this piece of music, you had to go a little bit crazy. um so oh yeah, this is just a really quick idea of like how it worked. This is very old, by the way. This is the first iteration of it. um so you play the you play the motif, and then the baby pops off. This is very, very old. This is like the first one we ever made.
But it's cool to see.
And then
It's
yeah,
cool
you
to see the
find
progress,
the
though.
yes.
You know.
No, exactly. Like it's changed so much, and it's funny going back and seeing it now. And then you play the record.
Oh, nice.
And then that's how you take the key away from him. But yeah, that was kind of how it worked back then. Still works the same way, just looks a lot better. But it's funny going back and watching this now. But oops. Cool. So yeah, that was the first time it ever happened, and then essentially I actually had to make an extended version as well because the developers said that my piece was too long, so I had to cut it in half. But this is the actual official soundtrack. That if you're interested in the hearing the actual version of the King's Lullaby before it was orchestrated or anything, this is like the actual one. So yeah, it's literally just piano. It starts off the same way as I like that Tony made it start off the same way as well with the orchestration. I really said, let's like start and finish piano. We agreed. We were like, yeah, I think we both said like we had the same thought, to do that because it really suited, the solo. But I can't actually hear what I'm playing, so I'm just talking over it because I don't know I don't know which point of the music we're at or not.
It's at the middle section.
Okay.
Yeah, that moment right
I'll
there,
play them.
right there. It's the point where you're really low on the piano, and it's kind of transitioning to the next section. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I'll leave you but we watched. Oh,
You know, every time I
oh
hear
yeah,
that,
that's
oh, it's so good. It's so
seriously.
good. I love it. I love it. Oh man, every time I hear it, it always the I think what always strikes me is the harmony, the harmonic, just the completely unkiltered. Like we're gonna go to that change, and then we're gonna go to that change. And despite it being actually like thinking about accidentals for orchestra, right? And all the very when you're using like C sharp major chords and all of that stuff, when you have like E sharps and B sharps and stuff, like it sounds so cool. So it's like, yeah, we got
Oh,
to keep it this
thank
way. Like
you.
we don't want to change anything about it because it just sounds great. Man,
Oh, thank
I
you
love it.
so much. I, if anything, my subconscious inspiration, I guess, because I've been playing piano for a really long time now. I was 9 years old when I started playing piano, and I've always really loved Chopin and like the
Mm,
romantic kind of period. And I'm not saying that this sounds anything like Chopin, but I think I have a lot of classical influence subconsciously buried in me from playing a lot of piano growing up and listening to a lot of piano and like Chopin or what else? I like Eric Satie and all those things
hmm.
too. A lot of the pieces as well that I had to learn, I didn't really want to. They were like exam pieces, but honestly, now looking back, it probably helped me learn like Haydn and obviously Beethoven and all the classics. Whether I knew it or not, I was being influenced already by classical music. So I really don't. I really think that if I didn't play piano, I wouldn't be doing this today. I guess. So yeah, piano is a huge thing for me, and yeah, it's really cool. It I almost don't really feel like I even made this music. It's like someone else, like something out there, you know, when I tuned in with the
It
baby
was
and the
the
kid.
it was the baby. It was the
It
baby.
really was just like a beam of light came down and just like gave me these ideas, I feel. So and yeah, it's kind of it's my magnum. It's funny because it's supposed to be Pickman's magnum opus, but I think it's become mine, and now like I can't write any music that's better than this. This is like I've reached my peak.
Yeah.
No,
That's a
it's
that yeah, that
uh,
one's tough. That's a tough, yeah.
I gotta write something better one day. It's I gotta
And
but
actually,
anyways.
if you don't mind, I actually have a question about that because maybe
Oh,
some
yeah.
folks here might feel similarly in their own work, whether sound design, whatever you do,
Yeah.
audio, whether however you're wiggling the
Mm.
air. Um, so you mentioned like your magnum opus. This is something I really struggled with. I wrote a soundtrack quite a few years ago now, almost 10 years ago now. And at the time, I was like, "Oh man, this is the greatest thing. It's gonna do this. Like, it's gonna move my career in all these different ways." And interestingly, while I'm still proud of the music, it's definitely a reflection of 2017. It's like my expectation didn't quite meet what actually happened. So with this, you know, your magnum opus, and I truly I agree with you. I think like this music of yours is exceptionally strong. Like it's amazing. Um, how do you feel about like when you think about okay, what's next, or like you know what I'm asking? Like, how does this impact sort of the decisions you might make next? You know,
Mm,
from a career
I
standpoint, from a creative standpoint.
definitely, yeah. I never like to do the same thing twice. I
Mm,
always want to do something different. So now it's really tricky because I'm still working on the Baby in Yellow and we're still developing and we're still making it and everything. So now that I'm writing more music for it, um and I have this looming in the background, like, hey, remember the King's Lullaby? It's like, no, 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 I don't want to do that again. You know, I want to do something new. But and I guess yeah, it's really tricky because I guess now I have to kind of stay away from doing like piano solos, maybe try and do other things, which I have been actually. I've been buying loads of VSTs with more kind of like world instruments.
Nice.
So I'm trying to do more like Nordic things, which is definitely not what I'm usually. I'm always looking for something new, right? So
Cool.
I've been doing, yeah, a lot of like Nordic music for certain games, and even if the game doesn't require that, I'm trying to fit it into that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Anyway, I was
So
just curious. Yeah,
like,
because I know when we have these
yeah,
projects that are like our big, well, I mean, no pun intended, truly. Like when we have these projects that
yeah,
are like our baby, like this is what we've spent so many hours and time and all of that on. It's tough to then say, okay, it's done. Now we're
it's
going to the
done.
next thing.
Yeah.
It's a weird, it's scary thing. But
Or
anyway,
I
I was just
will
curious.
always keep. I guess like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, because yeah, this literally is like, I mean, yeah, no pun intended. It's like a baby, but this music has evolved though so much, like
Mm,
from just the motif to the full piano piece, and then going into an orchestra. Like, to me, it's refreshing as well hearing that song made in different ways. So I was
hmm.
also thinking of doing a King's Lullaby a cappella choir version.
Oh,
Like, I just
sign me
want
up.
to keep, yeah, I just want
I'll
to
sing
like,
bass.
yes, please. I really want to. This will happen one day, because like I say, I don't want to do the same thing twice, but I don't mind reusing something,
Mm,
but um doing it differently every time. So
reimagined.
like, I probably will have like 10 different versions of the King's Lullaby one day, but it's just because I think it's fun taking
Yeah,
something and, yeah, reimagining it, like for choir maybe, or for, the symphony, or like just, or even metal. Do you know, that's funny, somebody my top comment on the King's Lullaby is, make a metal version of this, please. So like,
it goes so hard.
people want to hear the King's Lullaby over and over again, but in different worlds, I guess. So it's really cool that I've made something for 80, 60%. It's become a thing, let's just keep playing it for different different.
We should
So
probably because we'll do a Q&A, right? I think actually we have
yes,
a good
we
amount of
want to do.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to do Q&A. So before I end, I always like sharing something useful with everybody. So for whoever is watching this, I do want to say that, yes, it took me like years to get to this point, but if you want to, as a composer, you can actually hear your music played live by an orchestra in different ways. You don't have to wait till the opportunity comes knocking at your door. You can go knocking at the orchestra's door with these links, and Tony's actually used some of these. So if you had a good experience with them, you
Of
know
course, yeah. And I would say if you were to go the route of like Budapest scoring was my very first scoring session many moons ago. Was with Budapest, and they always do a great job. Recently I've been recording a lot with Fames, and there's various reasons as to why I choose one versus the other. Maybe it's the room or the like the strings, and that the string players there tend to play a certain way. Like, you get to know the conventions of each of these, but what I recommend to everyone, if this is any of any interest, is, and it doesn't have to be me. Like, I'm not putting myself here out, but I'm just saying, if you're going to do this, to find someone who knows the world of writing for live orchestra musicians. Plenty of orchestrators out and around the world. Frankly, even anyone who's written music for live performers in general. Um, it's good to just even cross check with it. Like, if you want to put in all the work and say, I made the score, I made the notes, I would say my biggest regret, if I could turn back the clock 10 years and do it over, it would be to cross check my first score recording with an orchestrator, just to have a second pair of eyes. It's like having a second pair of ears for a mix, or a second
mixing.
pair of,
Yeah.
yeah, same idea. Just to have someone else who knows the world to look at it, and just to say, ooh, actually, you missed an accidental there, or you might want to change that there, or just to have that, just for that second opinion, a bit of reassurance. It goes a really long way. So highly recommended.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that because I personally I've never done anything like the remote orchestral recording services, but I do see the value and benefit in them. And yeah, hopefully someone here today can find some use out of it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. We're gonna go into Q&A next, but thank you so much to everybody who's stuck around and we'll go into Q&A next. And yes, if you want to know more about us or reach out for anything, that those are our links. So take a picture or whatever you need to do. um, so thank you. And yeah, we'll stop
Let's
sharing. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
we will go into QA. How's the QA doing? What questions
so
do
we're
we
good.
have?
We got it. I think we got, technically speaking, we have time to
Yeah.
do this. So let's do this.
Yeah, we got like 5-10 minutes.
Terrell
um,
asks, forgive me if I'm not saying your first name right. Terrell, short. Are there rules you need to follow? Oh wait, we can do this. Can you highlight that bottom? Just highlight the one at the very bottom. You
oh
can like bring
yes,
it up onto the screen.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, there it is. Are
there.
there rules you need to follow when assembling an orchestra section for theme music? Like if the strings are playing the melody, the woodwinds should not. Do different instrument sections need to abide by certain composing rules? This is a big question, but I love it. If I would say it's a bit of both and. So if the strings are playing the melody, the woodwind should not. Well, the only reason you would want to add a woodwind, for example, in that is to change up the color of it, right? So maybe you want the combination of those two instruments together at the same pitch in unison to create its own color, which is a thing you can do. Um, or maybe you just need, if there's a full brass section that's really loud and you need to kind of reinforce a certain line, woodwinds are also very good. Woodwinds and string pairing are also very good at doing that as well. Do different instrument sections need to abide by certain composing rules? Yeah, the big things are like range and register, right? So every instrument has its limitations, the lowest note, the highest note. There are some like mastermind musicians who they can play like crazy notes on the very bottom end of the tuba, for example. They can just go below the fundamental and just keep going down. But like you're not going to find that every day. So there's generally some solid ranges to kind of stay within, and plenty of orchestration textbooks go into this. I would also say like how articulations are, slur markings, right? What a slur marking is for a violin is different for a woodwind and a brass instrument. Um, and, violins and string instruments can play two or more notes at once. Woodwinds, well, some woodwinds can, but again, it's kind of a different technique. So yeah, every section has its own kind of conventions, idiomatic writing for each section, I guess would be it's a big topic. So I can't go into all little details, but what I would suggest is if you're interested in this type of stuff, get like here's a good textbook beneath my feet here. Study of Orchestration, Sam Adler. This is just one of many. There's Rimsky-Korsakov's Study of Orchestration.
Oh, I
There's
remember that one. Yeah.
Walter Piston's Study of Orchestration. There's so many out there, but I really recommend, this is a good kind of foundation. It's bigger, it's heftier. And also the Rimsky-Korsakov is like a 10 out of 10. So
That's a classic. Everyone knows that
yeah.
one, even if you don't orchestrate.
Yeah, Rimsky-Korsakov. And it's free. Rimsky's is free actually because it's public domain now. So that's a good one.
hmm
Good one.
Cool. Thank you for answering that one. We will
Yeah.
take that one off. Who else do we have? We've got Terry. I'm curious as to where both of you went to school and how you started working in orchestral music. And the first piece was awesome. Oh, thank you. Yes, we'll take it in turns answering, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
I went to school like I didn't do music. I've never studied music composition. What I did was I went to college for music performance, actually, because I wanted to be like a concert pianist. But in the end, I didn't do that. And then I found a degree that I could do. So I've got a Bachelor of Honors degree in literally sound for games. So I literally have a degree in like game audio, which I think is still funny to this day that that's a thing that you can do. But we did composition for maybe like 2-3 months, and that was it. So honestly, I've never actually studied composition itself. All of my musical background just comes from being yeah, classically trained since I was like 9, so that's helped me like a lot. Um, and yeah, I didn't really start working in orchestral music until the video games were my entry to all of this. So, what about you, Tony?
Yeah. I went to school at Temple University out in Philadelphia for music composition. My entry point to orchestral music, like writing orchestral music, sort of preceded that. I wasn't very good at it. I think the very first orchestral piece I ever wrote was a bassoon concerto. It's still on my hard drive, and no one will ever see it because it is like the worst thing. This is probably what, like 2008 or 2009, maybe. Anyway, it but even earlier, like my interest in orchestra music outside of I loved video game soundtracks and film scores, and my mom was classical pianist, so I always heard like big symphonies
Oh,
and
cool.
whatnot. Um, but it was actually like when I would see, like I saw a video of Coldplay playing with an orchestra for like the Grammys in 2003 or something on YouTube, and I was like, that's freaking cool. That was when I was like, I want to actually write for orchestra. I never really thought about doing video games. I never really thought about doing the classical stuff that I do. It was like that stuff just kind of happened eventually, but it was really like the rock plus orchestra situation that I was like, I want to learn how to do that. So that brought me, my music teacher was like, oh, you got to learn how to write for an orchestra. So my music teacher was like, go to music school. And I was like, okay. I had no idea. Like I was very naive to all of it. So I sort of went in cold turkey, and that, as I continued to do it, I actually fell in love even more so with like, ooh,
Mm.
I want to spend a lot of time in the classical writing. I want to spend a lot of time in like the avant-garde writing. The more I did it, the more I became interested in all the different styles and techniques and things. Which at some point randomly someone asked me to make music for their game, and it just kind of one thing led to another. And then I guess maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, remember that songwriting rock orchestra thing? Let me revisit that now that it's been like 12 years and I haven't touched it. So it was like, I kind of
Oh,
took this
wow.
giant path around where I was like learning how to do the thing. And now I've been doing the thing that I sort of always dreamed of doing with the orchestra. So it's just been a wild journey. There's really no single answer to this one. I wish there was, but
Yeah. Everybody's journey is so different.
yeah, yeah.
Um, cool. Thank you. I guess we have another one
Mm,
from Tara. Where can someone start learning how to compose orchestra sections or experiment with hybrid genre music?
mm.
Hmm,
Virginia, do you have
I
thoughts?
don't
I'm
know
happy
if
to jump in
you.
too.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, start learning, like experiment. I can talk about experimenting with hybrid genre
Yeah,
music, and
yeah,
honestly, experimenting, there's no way to one way to experiment. It's just, I think that the way that I kind of experimented was just having I need the resources right. So hybrid genre, you probably need to have like a lot of different types of synths or VSTs, or like, that kind of gives me the inspiration when it comes to like writing hybrid music. Is like, oh, I have some really weird VST that like I've never used, but I have that, so I'll just try it. And like, I don't know, really, it's a lot on like, to me, the tools you need to experiment with, because it's like if you're a scientist, you need to have like 10 different potions, right? You can't just experiment with one. So you
yeah,
need to have like the tools to be able to experiment in that way. But if not just VSTs, if you want to, you can just have instruments as well that you can record. So I don't know, go out to like a thrift store and just buy some like crappy old guitar and like I, like you don't need to have you don't even need money really. You can just do things with your voice too. Like it's experimenting is just really about thinking outside the box, and yeah, I don't know. There's not a way to you can't learn to experiment. That's just like, I feel like the natural curiosity that we should have as like human beings. I don't know
yeah,
if that,
yeah.
if that makes
That's
sense.
great. Yeah, I can't say much more about the hybrid stuff other than like if you're doing orchestra, I would put it in two camps, two major camps. If you're doing orchestra to make it sound like you're in a concert hall with a symphony orchestra, with or without any other instruments, that's its own kind of set of rules of like, okay, you don't want to layer too much stuff. You kind of want to follow what you would do as if you were doing it for a live concert. But as soon as you move into like serious hyper territory, like Hans Zimmer Dark Knight score, for example,
Yeah.
pretty orchestra hybrid. You don't always have to follow like, okay, well, I need my double basses an octave below that, so it sounds like, you know, you can kind of get away with just, you know, then it becomes more about the production and the mix. So it's very much like if and I can always hear it if someone's like doing it's the first time doing like a, you know, quote unquote realistic symphony orchestra type thing. I'm like, they forgot, they just got to get the tuba in there and it'll sound great, you know. But when you're dealing with hybrid, you don't have to deal with that as much, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, yeah, like that's the first thing that comes to everyone's mind probably is hybrid genre music. Oh, Hans Zimmer, but it's like, you know, you could do something different, you know. Maybe
Yeah.
you can like copy what he's doing to like learn what he's doing, but hybrid genre literally means anything. I think the
Anything
first
you
video
want. Yeah.
soundtrack yeah, the first video game soundtrack I ever did was like Middle Eastern jazz funk. Like it was just so weird, I can't even describe it. And the brief was like make something that sounds like Fifth Element. So you know, it was
Where do
just
these I tell you,
yeah,
developers are all the
could be
same. They
anything.
always they always ask for these because they I got one and I love game developers, don't get me wrong. But like one of my first gigs too is a similar thing. It was like, I really want like orchestral Celtic lo-fi hip hop. And I'm like,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that is, okay, sure. I'll give it a crack, you
I've
know?
had a I've had a prompt before that was like Scooby-Doo mixed with like yeah, like lo-fi. I was like, okay.
Amazing. Sure. Whatever that sounds like, right? Yeah. Good luck.
So yeah, hybrid genre, whatever
Yeah.
you want, mate, whatever you want it.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe do we have
We got
two
time for
couple
these
one
last
more minute?
few. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this one's for you, Tony.
Yeah, this one's real quick. I'm sorry. I'm on Team Sibelius for life until Dorco decides to buy out Sibelius too. Yeah, I know Sibelius. I've been using Sibelius literally probably since I purchased it and started writing a bassoon concerto. Like I've been using Sibelius since that day. And so because I have so much happening, I haven't had a chance to relearn a whole new software on the job. Like I just don't have the time to relearn the hotkeys and do that or do this. If I ever have like a month or two lull in my lifetime, I will likely learn Dorco. But MuseScore, I've seen MuseScore grow from day one, students of mine and stuff. And it's like, it's it's competition. Like it's good. And the sound
Good
samples in
now.
MuseScore are unreal. They're
Yeah.
unreal. So anyway, I think they're all good. If you use Cubase, I will say this much. If you use Cubase or plan on using Cubase, I would learn Dorco now because they're more and more, they're creating more connectivity between the two. So that'd be my recommendation.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, the Muse score has become quite surprising recently. Um, I'm spotlighting a question for Tony.
Yeah.
You had a question for me. When you mentioned that you need the game to generate the musical ideas, what does that look like? Oh, it's like a eureka moment when you're playing the game from a musical standpoint. Uh, hmm.
Yeah, like what does it look like? So you mentioned you need it, like you're not as good
Yeah.
about creating music just to make it. So you need the thing, you need the visual. So what happens, right? So is it melodic? Is it textural? Is it XYZ?
I guess what I usually do nowadays, and I don't remember if I used to do this back in the day, but I'll get Unreal Engine up and I'll just play in the game, and then I will record a video of me playing the game, so I have like a small segment of gameplay, and and then I'll take that video and I'll put it on a different monitor, and I will just literally put it on loop, so that
Mm,
video will just play for like hours and hours of just me running around the game and doing stuff. And then I'll open up Ableton and I will literally just stare at the video and then get the first thing I usually do is piano VST. I open
mhm.
up Keyscape or something like, yeah, that's my favorite one. The cat's out the bag, keyscape's the best. And I will literally just look at the video and just noodle around until I'm like, oh, that feels good. Like that
Nice.
looks right. Like, yeah, I need the game to be playing while I'm playing music, and I'll
Mhm.
just, I guess, like maybe a film composer would do. They would like maybe watch the movie and like start to play a little bit like while they're
Mhm.
watching the game. Um, I don't know if that's actually
No,
one of,
that's
I
cool.
don't
That's
even,
great. I love that.
yeah, I don't know if I actually really like this story about the how the Twin Peaks Laura Palmer's theme was made. Was there was no like visuals at all. It was just David Lynch, the director, sat at the piano with Angelo Badalamenti, which was the composer, and what he was doing was David Lynch was just describing what was going on. So he said there's a girl in this forest and she's lost and she's running, and he's really like descriptive
Yeah.
about the whole scene. And Angelo Badalamenti's at the piano, just he just starts playing the theme. Like he literally like it's pretty amazing. Like he just plays the music and that became the theme
Wow.
in that was it. It was like
Wow.
magic, absolute magic. And like that is the kind of stuff that I feel like when you're working with the right person or you're working on the right project for you, it's you don't really even have to think about it. It just
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah.
Like with the
Yeah.
king and yet with the baby in yellow, like I don't know how, but it just happened for me
Yeah.
while I was playing it. And I guess that's my answer. Is just
That's cool.
you won't be able to do that for everything, but if you find there's just certain matches of people. Like I always say as well, Danny Elfman and Tim Burton, they just like
Yeah.
found each other and they are just perfect for each other. It's these like director and composer relations that I kind of relate to game developers and composers in that way. So yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you for that, Virginia.
Yeah.
We have less than 5 minutes, so we have time for this final question from
We
Dominic
have
Beach.
less than 5 minutes, so yeah, there you
Um,
go. This one's for you.
any rarely seen orchestral color combinations that you're particularly fond of? Ooh, yes. There's one that I am a sucker for, and if you go through some of my music, well, that soundtrack's not out yet. But anyway, yes, there's one. And it is literally a harp harmonic. So if you were to write a harp harmonic on the staff, it sounds an octave above. So harp harmonic, like in the sounding pitch level, so where it sounds, where the harp harmonic sounds, plus string soltasto tremolo. So the harp harmonic accents the soltasto tremolo, and then the tremolo kind of carries that out. You could even, if you wanted to, you could even do another one that I love is the soltasto tremolo plus like a flute triad. So if you have three flutes and then a high string, high violin, soltasto tremolo, and they kind of sustain together, kind of just creates this like glistening, shimmery stuff. But the harp harmonic plus soltasto string, usually at that point it'll be a violin probably. Um, Tremolo, 10 out of 10 texture. It's like glass. It sounds like glass. Whatever that is. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
So
There's my
but I
spiel.
feel like I'm listening to a sound designer. It's so interesting. Like it's like I never connected those two things together, but it's like you are a sound designer, when you're saying these
Just in a
things.
different way. Just in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm not recording my my claps in a room or throwing something against the wall,
Yeah.
but I'm recording. But
Cool. Wow. Thank you so much. I guess we've answered all the questions. I haven't actually been looking at the chat, but
I think
is
all the questions were in the right
everything
spot.
cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just seeing what everyone's saying. Oh yeah, cool. Awesome. All right. Yeah. Got no more questions. We're done here, I guess. I think it's
Yeah.
my job to end the stream. So Cool. Thank you, everybody, for asking
Thank you,
questions and
everybody.
sitting
Yeah,
around and watching the whole talk, and really appreciate it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
I hope
and
you
reach out
enjoyed it.
reach out anytime. You know, Virginia, is that okay with you? Can they reach out anytime before I say
Yeah,
it?
I've
Okay.
got it. I've got it right here. Maybe I'll just share it real quick before we leave. But yes, please, if you want to reach out, you can totally do that right here. There's our emails. If you do have any more questions or just anything,
Yeah,
we're game audio people. Always the friendliest people I've ever met. So we're always happy to help each other out. So
yeah.
yeah,
Thank you,
cool.
Virginia, for making this great music and just setting all of this up. So thank you, Virginia, for being a rock star.
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you for joining, and thank you, Airwiggles, for having us on.
yeah,
So
yeah. All right,
cool.
take care,
All
everybody. Thank
right.
you so much. Yep.
Bye.